Hi, my name is Rebecca Alston. I am your host, and today we will be talking about the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and her replacement, Amy Coney Barrett, in the Supreme Court. So, Ruth Bader Ginsburg had a very powerful legacy, and her death left a seat in the Supreme Court open. During her time on the Supreme Court, she made waves. That is what she was known for, so much so that she got the nickname Great Dissenter. And she's known for her infamous fight for women's rights. And her one wish on her deathbed was to not be replaced until a new president was in office. Unfortunately, those wishes were not respected, and a little over a month later, Amy Coney Barrett was confirmed. This meant that the Supreme Court would now have a 6-3 conservative majority, leaving many important decisions hanging in the balance. One of these decisions being Roe v. Wade, which will largely impact abortion. History repeats itself, and we definitely see that hold true in this instance. The first time period we'll be looking at today to discuss women and rights is the post-revolutionary period. What had happened was, after the revolution, the different states were trying to figure out laws, and sometimes this meant that in these new constitutions, the language would be ambiguous, which allowed women and even African Americans to be enveloped in the suffrage movement. And one example of this being even more clear is when New Jersey decided, okay, we're going to use the words he and she. We're going to make it clear that both men and women can vote. So there was this very nice, around 10-year period where women could vote in New Jersey. And that did not last. The rights were rescinded. Now you have to remember, we're talking about the post-revolutionary time period. So women were not particularly angry, or you don't see a lot of protest from this time period, as Professor Freeman mentions in her lecture, but it does kind of present the idea that you can have something so powerful be taken away, even if it wasn't necessarily something you're passionate about. And we're now seeing this idea of these rights being taken away from the 1790s reflected in 2020. But I can guarantee you there will be a lot more protest and anger should Roe v. Wade or rights get rescinded today. Women right now have the right to abortion, and with Amy Coney Barrett's appointment, it's now a question of, will Roe v. Wade be overturned? Trump was pretty clear with his intentions, and Amy reflects these views. That very much contradicts Ruth Bader Ginsburg's legacy, and literally a large part of her confirmation hearing was her talking about women's autonomy and the right to abortion and women's rights in general. Another time period we can analyze to learn about women's rights in is the Jacksonian period. We see Republican motherhood kind of come to fruition when women aren't allowed to vote after the revolution, but also in the Jacksonian period, so around 1820 through 1845, the cult of domesticity combines with this idea of Republican motherhood. The painting The Image Peddler by Frances Edmonds in 1844 demonstrates a lot of the femininity values of the time. We see a man sitting on a table, he has his paper open, he's educated, keeping up with the times, and that's on the left side of the painting. Continuing on, you see a grandfather-looking figure educating a little boy about George Washington. We can assume he's trying to let his grandson possibly know all that America is and has fought for. But as you get farther right, you start to see women being represented in a much more domestic manner. There's a little girl checking on a baby-like figure in a basket. There is a woman next to the peddler holding a baby. And there is a woman on the far, far right side washing dishes, which alludes to this whole notion of household responsibilities. The cult of domesticity essentially means control. You control women by keeping them in the house and out of the political sphere, by not giving the same access to education and knowledge with limited career choices. And we kind of see that with the peddler, as the boy is learning about the historical figure, but the girl is not. I feel as though anti-abortion laws are similarly about controlling the woman. We see religion used as a main reason, but then some people who are pro-life don't fight for better conditions of orphanage-based systems and foster care systems, are not passionate about Black lives being taken on the street, or don't even support contraceptives that would prevent an egg from even being fertilized. What we should take away from these two time periods is that A, rights can be taken away and should not be taken for granted, and B, that the woman has been controlled in the past and we need to make sure that we don't continue that. What I wonder is, why do these systems of oppression last so long? Was there ever a time where men and women were truly equal? And how do we learn from that time to ensure that government shifts don't jeopardize rights? Thank you for your time.